So I am Hannah Shepherd. I work as a philanthropy consultant for Money Tree Fundraising. So that means I deal with anything and everything that is in the high value giving space. However, I am a massive major donor specialist. I love it. I love the highs, I love the lows, I love the grey areas, I love all the negotiations and niggles that probably do turn me slightly grey. However, I do absolutely love the buzz that we can get from raising large scale gifts from philanthropists and kind of matching that with what our organisation needs to obviously have the biggest change and impact on, say, our beneficiaries or the people that we work with in our causes. So I hope you share some of that passion. You can also be on this call and be like, I have no clue what I'm doing with major donor fundraisers. Hannah, tell me everything. That is fine. That's here. You may also be on this call and you might be like, Hannah, I've been doing it far longer than even you have been doing it, which is very true. People out there probably have. And I've got some great skills and techniques that I want to share with everyone. So that is absolutely fine. It's a bit of a free for all. So today I want to start off with us checking in with ourselves. Like I said before, the weather is pretty rubbish at the moment, in my opinion. And it's quite challenging sometimes to find the motivation. We also, if we're really honest, it's really, really tough at the moment, isn't it? I don't know about you, but there is loads of talk about targets, pipelines, new financial years. Your organisations might be running loads of events during Christmas. You might also have got loads of income weighted towards the end of your financial year, which could be end of December, could be in line with the tax year in March. It's tough. It's really tough out there. So I really wanted to kind of do a bit of a moment, if that's all right. And then we will get into it. So apologies, I won't do death by presentation. But what I will do is I've got a couple of slides that I just wanted to talk you through. So as I said, we're here today. We've made some major donor fundraising live chat. Like I said, it is tough. And this month in November and December and possibly into start the new year is a bit of a roller coaster season. I know I've had a bit of challenges recently, juggling everything. I suspect that a lot of people are in a similar boat. We've also seen waves of redundancies and changes and being asked to do more with less. So I guess these are probably my 3 top tips at the moment for how I would impart some advice onto how to deal with it. So number 1 for me is being honest with yourself. Is anyone else possibly guilty on this call of maybe, you know, going through the motions with work and going through the motions with work and you know, you're in it, you're in the thick of it and you're thinking, eek, I can't take on anymore. I'm feeling tired, stressed, burnt out. I guess one of my biggest things that I'd probably say is make sure you make that time to pause and kind of be really honest and reflect what's going on with you. So that could be as simple as having a tea break. I'm a big fan of that. You know, taking your tea, coffee. I tend to go out in my garden, possibly not today or this time of year as much, but just taking that time to walk away from the desk, from the Teams calls, for everything, and just be really honest about what's going on. Like, how do you feel? What's on your workload? What you've been asked to do, and actually just kind of bleh it out of your system. I don't know if anyone else is very similar to that as well. And then once you've kind of done that, I think that sometimes helps us to just kind of recenter. You might also be a big fan of meditation. I know people meditate, do yoga, go to the gym and lift loads of heavy weights, whatever works for you, do what you need to do. But do take that time to pause and reflect. And then my second point, and you know, I'm preaching to the converted here, but you know, a lot of the time I find and I see a lot of the pressure of fundraising comes from well-meaning managers, chief execs, trustees, senior volunteers that want evidence They want to see and hear, you know, what's going on. So I guess my best thing is, once you've worked out, you know, what it is that you've got on your mind and taken a step back, is what do those people need to see or hear or see or have as evidence that you're making progress with your major donor fundraising. So, I mean, let's be very honest, most of the time that is income they want to see falling into the bank account. However, there are other things that we could be doing, because let's be realistic, we work in high value fundraising. Sometimes it's a really long process to get those gifts in, to kind of find those prospects, to work through engagements, and then make an ask that aligns with that person, and for them to give within a window, say, that we have created as an organisation. So I think it's really important to kind of manage and log all the activity that is getting you to that gift, getting you to that income. So is that, you know, that you've got new meetings or you've got calls in the diary? Is that what, you know, managers, chief execs want to see? Is it that you've kind of had some interaction back from a prospect? Because that's invaluable. You know, have you created some kind of stewardship and they've emailed back their response, or they've picked up the phone and given you a quick call? Like, all of that is really positive interaction and shows that that donor's kind of on that journey with you to where you would like them to be. Or are you in an organisation where you're trying to grow the organisation's influence? Our major donor strategies, is it trying to engage more senior volunteers, high net worth, you know, networks? You know, can you show that you've, you know, either met with someone new in that area, or the best one is, has somebody that already supports you helped make an introduction to open that up for you? And in doing so, you've got a new avenue to explore, and you can show that you've got those kind of proactive actions going on. And I would probably say, use that time, that kind of pause that you've had, to really think about what evidence they want and what you should be doing to do that. So be really strict with yourself. Like, think, you know, if you think, oh gosh, I need to create a new stewardship opportunity, or a new type of email, or just think about it. Is it the best thing to give you that evidence you need? Or what could you do differently that's just really straightforward that could get you there? And I guess that kind of leads me on to kind of collaborate. Oh my goodness, I can't put my teeth in. To collaborating with others. So you need to prioritize those key things for that evidence, but then you need to be thinking smartly, like, where and who could I be working with to make my life easier? So if you're lucky enough and you work in a big enough fundraising team, you may have colleagues who work in other high value fields like trust and foundations, or a corporate fundraiser. You know, is there a way that you can listen and see how they talk to supporters about your charity's work? Have they already created like a case for support, or a way of talking, or presentation that you could use and adapt? Also, individual giving. Again, at this year, I see some brilliant fundraising campaigns being used to kind of, you know, adapted for a major donor audience. Individual giving team may have produced all the assets and way more than you actually need, but they may have a really strong core message which works really well. Can you use that and adapt it for your major donors and prospects? And also, who else in your organisation can help make your life easier? So could that be a specific trustee? Are they willing to have coffee and to kind of tell you about somebody they think could, you know, support the organisation? Or could you meet with them and have a list of people you think they already know that they could go out to and talk about the organisation and bring them in as supporters or potential major donors? What about your chief exec? If you can get time with your chief exec, they are hobnobbing, meeting all sorts of people, and I can guarantee they don't always have major donor fundraising at the top of their head. If they do, amazing. If they don't, you need to almost like nudge them. Can you get some time with them to talk about, you know, a project, an element of your work that you're really pushing, and the type of people you want to bring in. And the same goes for senior volunteers if you've got them. So already existing donors or people of influence, you know, getting time with them is invaluable, and can sometimes take the pressure off trying to do it all yourself. And basically just go have questions and pick their brains. I'm going to stop there for that kind of moment. Has anyone else got anything that they would suggest or have done that recently have helped lift that kind of pressure that people might be feeling at this time of year? No? Has anyone got anything where they've kind of tried to manage upwards or influence their kind of managers or trustees, or chief exec, for example? I know that some organisations have really strong KPIs, which then they can they report back up every quarter, and that kind of show the progress. Apologies, sorry, was someone going to talk? I missed them. Sorry. No. Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I coughed. That's what it was. But I was going to say something. I work at RNID. I work with Emma Forrest, who's also on the call. And we just had a meeting this morning about not using the phrase pushing back, but when you're asked to do something, clarifying exactly what people are asking you for and making sure they understand the amount of time that that particular task takes, and just confirming, do they actually need that amount of information? I think that's something we were talking about this morning that will help in terms of workload and priority, so that to make sure that one task doesn't obliterate the others unnecessarily. If it is needed and they do need that for that time, then that's okay. But just sort of that negotiation.
Oh, do you know what? That is such an important point, isn't it? Because I think sometimes lots comes down, doesn't it? It gets filtered to you and everything gets presented like it's really urgent. It needs to be done now. But you're the best judge of that, aren't you? And like you say, I like that. You didn't call it pushing back. What did you call it?
Well, we were discussing it this morning. I like pushing back because that's what it is, but Emma had a better way of putting it, clarifying. So
That was it.
yeah, yeah. So that asking them to actually drill down into what they need and exactly why they need it for that time, and then what are they going to do with it? What are the bigger objectives with that piece of work, so that you can make sure it fits into your priorities, and then have an explanation as to why something has taken so long, because it was this amount of work that was needed to do that thing. I
Yeah.
think
And
that's what we need to do. Yeah.
that's good. And do you ever find sometimes if you've had that conversation, I don't know if you've had those conversations already, but sometimes when you go through asking those questions or just kind of pointing out the timeframes, people suddenly realize that maybe that's not as much of a
Yeah.
priority.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't realize what they're actually asking for and what it entails until you outline it. And then, yeah, that can, yeah.
Yeah. It's tricky, isn't it? And I think that's a really good tactic to have because sometimes people also forget to fully brief you on things. I don't know if anyone's been in this scenario as well, where you're told, oh, we need X, Y, Z, and then go off and do it. And then suddenly you're like, yeah, but I need that
Yeah.
clarity. Like I need all those things to be able to, you know, for you to manage it as an individual, but also to give them what they expect, don't they?
Yeah.
And I think that's where we come a cropper sometimes
Yeah.
in charities, is that we don't always give everyone, we don't set that expectation out
Yeah.
early enough. Then something comes along, doesn't it? There's a hump in the road, and then it can look like sometimes we've not done our job or someone else hasn't done the job, when really that
Yeah.
clarification or timeline was never explained, or you know what is a true output. You know, I'm sure
Yeah.
we've all been in situations where we've, oh, I don't know, I remember creating a video that features a major donor, and I was like, this is great, they've got a great, really powerful story for why they're making the donation. But I remember being like, but for what use? Like, we're going to spend all this like, where is it going? Who's going to see
Yeah.
it? Like, is it for other major donors? Is it for our like public fundraising audience? Where does it sit? And I think in hindsight, I spent a lot of time with, say, the comms team at that point, editing this video back and forth and putting things in and out. And, it must have taken us more versions than we would have liked and appreciated to shift to kind of get what we wanted. And again, that eaten up my time and probably caused a little bit of anxiety and pressure as well on all of
Yeah.
us. So yeah, I really like that idea.
Yeah, and just to add to that, to get it in writing, that's another
Yeah,
thing that we were talking about, to get it in writing, because I do the prospect research for the fundraisers, and yeah, to have it so that you can all see what you've both agreed to.
yeah. And do you know what? I sometimes think there's a bit of a trend where people are scared to put things in writing at the moment, or in general, like as if like it's going to be a bad thing to put in writing. But do you not think like you do get that clarity? Because if you put in writing, then you can go back, like you said, and you can go, oh, is that what we agreed? Or if like you forget or they forget, you can go back and remind yourselves, or you can use it as that kind of negotiating block where you're a bit like, I know we agreed this, but I now think we need to do this as well. And my gosh, if you're a prospect researcher, I bet that people come back to you quite frequently, especially when they're doing the fundraisers with their queries and wanting to change their kind of position and things. And
Yeah,
I hold myself up as somebody who's done that in the past. So yeah,
yeah, yeah, it's useful.
good. Is there anything else people are doing to kind of just juggle, balance, clarify workloads? No one else seen anything good? I've seen teams do like a whiteboard, interactive whiteboard of kind of their goals. So they have like a theme per quarter and they focus on prioritizing those things that are really important. So a lot of the time it's donor facing activity and ones that are going to get quicker results. So I mean, what do I mean by that? Sometimes cutting out the nice to have and just delivering what can be delivered in the time frame. Um, and that can be anything from, sometimes we like to create really nice stewardship communication plans and, take donors on a lovely journey. And don't get me wrong, I think that's brilliant. In some organisations, it's expected from donors. In some, I was chatting to one this week, I was like, you haven't got the capacity to do this. Like if you were promising this up front to donors, um, we know probably will do really well for 6 to 12 months and then it's going to fall off. And also we were chatting really openly and said, do our major donors for this organisation want this kind of additional newsletter or additional update? You've already got them signed in up to the regular newsletter. You're already, booking in your calls and your regular meetings. They're time poor. Their inboxes are full. What will they, in this instance, want this piece of stewardship? And they said no. And so for them, they've actually prioritised. So I'm going to take a deep breath in, an event instead, and making sure that the follow up and the engagement pre event and post event is absolutely watertight. And that includes people that come as guests and those that decline RSVPs. Now, I actually think this is quite clever. It's also quite a risky strategy, but they are not basing their fundraising and KPIs on the event itself and raising money from the event. They're basing it on all the work that goes on around it, which I think is quite smart. So things like increasing the number of donors in the pipeline and prospects and being able to follow up meetings and really, really focusing and probably put equal amount of emphasis on the people who decline and the people that attend. So I'm eager to watch this space and see how that goes at the end of their kind of quarter towards March next year. Is there anything else that anyone wants to talk about? Because I was going to run into some technical questions. I had a question several weeks ago, actually, that was around how to ask good questions of major donors. But if you have a question that you want us to talk about or a suggestion, by all means, populate it in the chat and we'll kind of go through. Faye, you've put your hand up. Go on,
Hi.
what would you like to say?
Yeah, first of all, sorry, my computer insisted on restarting, so I've just missed a few minutes. So sorry if this has already been asked. But we are having a roundtable meeting to launch our new strategy, hopefully in January. And I just wondered if anybody has done any really good stewardship or something that kind of donors can take home from the event. I don't know, like a little leaflet or a packet of sweets. I don't know what it might be, but I wondered if you'd seen anything really cool or if anybody else has like that.
Let's throw it out. Anyone got any ideas or done or seen anything that's been really impressive or impactful? And this is to launch a new strategy, is it? Is it a new organizational strategy or fundraising?
Yeah, organizational.
Oh.
So we'll probably do the kind of, an informational something on everybody's seat. But yeah, I just wondered if there was anything that anyone's seen.
Is it Riona? Have I pronounced that right?
Yeah, it's Riona. It's not really something to take away, but just an idea that I've seen us do at Alzheimer's Research UK before is making something really memorable about the space. So for us, in relation to our cause, we know that 1 in 2 people will be affected by dementia. So what we do at some of our corporate events is make every other chair our brand colour of orange to hammer home that stat. And we find it really sticks with people. So it's not necessarily a physical thing that they take away, but just having something memorable at that event that really sticks with people.
I love that idea.
Faye, do you mind sharing what, you don't have to name it if you don't want to, but what type of organisation you work for? That might give us some ideas and we can help.
Yeah, sorry.
Brainstorm for you.
Yeah, I've just started at MenCap, so I'm only in my second week. But yeah, working for MenCap with people with learning disabilities.
Nice. Okay. So I guess if you were thinking about decorating the space, I mean, there's probably some nice ways of explaining how disabilities affect people in the workplace. I don't know whether MenCap do things that are accessible friendly. So I mean, I'm thinking at one stage there's obviously things that to do with Braille, but also could it be about round fonts and colours? And I don't know, I'm thinking very much in the space where where you can layer colours. Sorry, you can tell that I've got primary age children. We're going through the phase where we layer different coloured sheets over text. Has anyone done this with kids or themselves to kind of help, pull out letters and words? I am sure MenCap are really good at getting the voice of the people they support over. So I always think that you're a very inclusive organisation. So I don't know whether drawing on people's experiences that benefit your work, they might have something that they might like to include as part of the takeaway. What I would say is keep it really brief. Again, to my first point, major donors don't read long emails. They don't read long pieces of paper. They might not even want to take paper away. I mean, has anyone been in a scenario where they've gone and turned up with a physical booklet only to be told, oh, I don't want that. Just send it to me on PDF on email. To the point now, I actually don't often go to a donor meeting with much on me for that reason. Because I've found in recent years in particular, 9 out of 10 times they just push that paper away. But you do want to make it memorable. I mean, I don't know, is there a way that you can create a task? I mean, for them to understand the work that MenCap do? Go on, Faye, what were you going to say?
No, yeah, sorry. That's all really helpful. I think I really like the idea of something really visual, like those 1 and 2 chairs. kind of representing the 1 and 2 people. So I'm going to have a think around that.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
And that's really simple as well. But I also like that for the Alzheimer's Society, I got that straight away. Like, it's memorable. Like,
Yeah,
politely, I might struggle with my short-term or long-term memory. Well, short-term memory will go for, but that's really visual and just kind of gets that 1 and 2 messaging across, doesn't it? Love it.
yeah, thank you.
It's all right. Does anyone else have a question? Anything else that's burning? Or people want to chat about? No? Okay. Oh, go on. Anyone's burning? Go on.
I was going to ask if anyone has any like memorable or amazing experiencing of qualifying new donors and how you've moved them through that process. Silence.
So these new prospects, are they? Talk us through your
Yeah.
scenario a bit more whilst everyone gets their
I
thinking
don't
caps on.
really have a specific scenario in mind other than we need to, as I'm sure everyone can relate, is diversify our pipeline and build it. And so this could be a supporter who's maybe given a smaller donation to the charity and we're trying to build that more bespoke engagement with them, or it could be that someone has introduced us and said, oh, just get in touch, and isn't like keen to be at a meeting or whatever, has just given us their like an intro over email maybe. Yeah, so lots of different types of people coming to us, I guess.
And you're looking for ways to just kind of pull them together.
Yeah, or just any like ways that people have really seen success in engagement, because as you said, people are time poor and a lot of the time email is the first way that we can get in touch with someone. So just any sort of ideas on how people have stood out or success that they've seen.
I would say, it's kind of touched on a bit that I was going to talk about later, is maybe looking and thinking about a problem that they could solve. See you soon, Sarah. Is there a way that you can bring them in to help solve a challenge that you might be facing at the moment? So I really often find that donors, well, evidence shows, but also donors want to kind of share with you. They quite often want to share their experience and be valued for their thoughts. So sometimes if you've got someone who has been given for a really long time or a longer period of time, however long that may be, and you think, oh gosh, they've got potential to uplift their donation, I think presenting them with maybe a scenario that you're struggling, that they might be able to help with, or you don't know if they could help with, could be really helpful. And it could be something as simple as, dear Mr. Ball, we know that you've been supporting us for a significant amount of years. We greatly value that support, but we're looking at how we can engage and grow supporters like yourself who've been given X amount of years. Have you got any ideas of what might make our cause more appealing for you to increase your giving? Obviously worded it a lot smoother than I have then, but just the opportunity to have that quick phone call, and that can be a 10-15-minute call, couldn't it? Or a face-to-face meeting or a Teams meeting or Zoom or whatever, or even that you say you're going to follow up with a survey that's really simple to access and dead simple to fill in, because if it's not those two things, anyone in modern day society will not fill it in. That could be really helpful. So asking them to help solve a problem is great. Anyone got anything else that they've done that kind of got people excited? I'm a big fan and a big advocate of collective action. So I feel like people are very much, and the trend is very much in philanthropy, to be part of a bigger movement. Dare I say, many of you might even be looking at something like the Big Give next month. If you are, I hope you're all good. No one's tearing their hair out over it. Things like that, where donors feel like they're part of something bigger. So they're not, your charity is not just relying on them. I mean, some donors like that feel, but for some of us, sometimes a lower level major donor, they like to feel that they are part of something that's a bit of a movement, especially if they're at the early levels of giving. You know, knowing that their money is going to be matched, or they're going to join a pool of people, and then it's going to help unlock other types of funding. Brilliant, you know. For example, I was chatting to a charity the other week, and we were putting together a proposal. It was towards a corporate, but it could apply to a major donor as well, around could they part fund a corporate fundraiser position, because we worked out that that charity, with part funding from a corporate of that corporate fundraising position, could unlock 10 times more income over the next kind of 12, 18 months. And stuff like that really appeals, you know, or could be a scenario, you know, we're looking to unlock more giving. We are thinking about, you know, ways that are more appealing to major donors to fund our work, so they feel more inclusive as a club. Membership, okay, I know those words don't always go down. Board, at your own risk, although I do love fundraising boards. You know, that kind of thing sometimes can really get people motivated, interested, and it can tell you really easily, either they can tell you it's not for me, I'm not interested. And if they say that, you obviously want to follow up with, oh, but why? And like, what would make you interested? And that's kind of a bit of a starter to opening up those kind of questions, and how to ask questions to understand stuff and insight without it feeling like, you know, they're on Newsnight being fired with questions by us as fundraisers, which we never want to do, but possibly occasionally in our pressure, panic, nervousness, we can be occasionally at risk of doing that. Does that help? Yeah, brilliant. Emma, I can see you've got your hand up.
Hello. Yeah, I think what I'm going to say is probably been covered and encompasses it all, but we've done a lot of work around our language in high value, and where we're not in a position organisationally to be moving forward with, you know, something more specific like a capital campaign or a giving circle. You know, A, we're not ready, B, maybe the investment is going elsewhere, but how do we not necessarily change language, but just look at the language differentiation between our mass fundraising and then our high value audience. So our high values corporate trust and philanthropy. So I think it's really helped to look and work with the marketing team, because obviously I think probably we all have the same pressures, that obviously our marketing teams are very much like, this is brand, this is our language, but it's that internal discussion and influence that we've had to do a lot of work on from the high value side, to say, actually, like, this is what our audience need, and can we agree that, you know, it's limited risk because it's going to lower numbers of people, but actually this is our approach, this is what we want to do. And we've done some really good stuff in the last 6 months around, like, visually, like how does our philanthropy brand, without putting it as a philanthropy brand, look compared to those, you know, we do a different high value Christmas card, for example. It's like just those small tweaks that marketing are happy with, but actually it makes it a little bit more aligned with what those major donors or corporates would be used to seeing. And I think that's really helped us, and it's something we're going to continue with. Yeah, I just, that's the age-old battle with, like, high value is just that little bit different to your kind of mass bubbles or language that's maybe not as powerful as we need it to be.
Well, Emma, huge congratulations for taking on that challenge. I think it is an age-old, did you say battle or challenge between fundraising and communications? Not in a bad way, just sometimes, like you say, the brand, sometimes we have really strong organisational brands, but we just know major donors just need something in quite a lot of times that's slightly different, that just stands out, that, like you said, Emma, speaks to them, that resonates with them. And it's really important. I think this is where organisations and fundraisers can be really successful, is exactly what you said, Emma, that is looking at your language. Like, how are you presenting the work the organisation does? How are you making it attractive? How are you making it stand out? Because it's likely, and I think I was reading again the Barclays Bank, the Modern Philanthropist publication and report. I don't know if anyone's read it. I'll try and find it, drop it in the chat in a bit. But again, they were saying, you know, donors are supporting more causes, major donors. So not to say that you want to kind of compete, but we are competing for attention. And if your language is more aligned to their thinking, then it's going to be slightly more attractive, isn't it? It's you know, it's going to potentially influence them more. And it's also going to kind of give them that bit of certainty and trust that you know how to manage a major donation that they're going to give, and that actually they're, you know, it's not going to be necessarily transactional. It aligns to what they're thinking, how they're speaking. Oh, thank you for dropping that in the chat. It's all those bits and pieces that are really, really important. So Emma, that's brilliant to hear. I really hope that is working for you. And it's great that you kind of almost used a little bit what I said, that collaboration with a different team, with marketing and brand, to say, yep, totally get what you're doing. You've produced this great work for us. It is what we do. But can we, like you said, take the risk? Because major donor fundraising, high value fundraising, is a little bit about taking a risk sometimes, risk taking, you know. And can we take the concept, can we take this and kind of present it in a slightly different way? So Emma, I hope that it works, what you're working on at the moment. I hope it also progresses really well. And if you come on again and you've got some learnings from that, please do share, because I think hearing about it from other organisations and charities is how we kind of uplift our work. And also sometimes think, is it just me? Am I shouting into the void? Have I got the most ludicrous idea? When actually you haven't. You just bang on the money, literally. And you just get in there with what you're doing. Is there anything else? Anyone else got anything they want to ask or query? I won't keep you more than 10 minutes to go. No? I was going to talk about, oh, sorry. I keep, every time I say that, I see someone lean forward. Sorry, Gail,
sorry.
go for it.
I actually had a couple of questions. Sorry, but I don't know. Should I just keep them to the end, or would I just fire
Chuck
away
them in now, Gail. You know what?
Okay.
Because people may jump in, they might jump off. They might be like Faye and me yesterday when my computer just kept crashing. And I also couldn't work out that we had a national glitch with websites. Please tell me I wasn't the only one who thought I couldn't use the internet yesterday. So, Gail, yes, go on. You've got questions. Share them and let's see if we can help.
Thank you. So I've got two questions. One of them is around family foundations. Would you suggest a different approach for individuals when they have a family foundation, or would you generally follow the same process as you would for a foundation itself rather than a family one? And the second question I had was about events as well. When we have events, should we be inviting, you know, a few of our major donors to these events all the time? And do we give them, what would you suggest? Should we be giving them a free place or a free table? Or would you be suggesting that you just offer the opportunity for them to buy a table and to be part of the event? Because obviously, you know, it's great to have that sort of touch points, isn't it, with these donors, and having events is great. But just kind of wondering there what you would suggest for that.
Gail, those are two really good questions. I'll start with the family foundations. So I get excited when people have a family foundation and they're very open to share. It means they take their philanthropy seriously, doesn't it? They've structured it, they've got advice. they possibly, depending how structured it is, know where they want to give it. And if you align with that, you're in a really good place to apply to them. I would say family foundations on the whole usually have a family member, don't they, as on the trustee board. And I would say that you want to treat family foundations as much as you would treat the same as major donors. You are, dare I use the word, courting them. They may want to engage with you at a similar level. So that could be, they might want, direct and personal emails. They may want the opportunity to meet your kind of senior leadership teams. They might want to be on the inside scoop of your latest strategy update to nick someone else's event coming up. I think, to be honest, the time has come and passed where even if they are a family foundation or they are a very traditional trust and foundation with an administrator, times have changed. I think the majority of trusts and foundations want to be involved with an organisation, and even more so if it's family led. By all means, people, if anyone on the call disagrees with me, please say, drop it in the chat. Happy we carry on debate, because everyone's experience is different. So I would say, yeah, look at them and treat the trustees like major donors. It also, if you can get to those trustees and you can maybe have a conversation with them in advance of submitting an application, get them to see your project or what you do in person before you even get to the applying stage. These are all really, really important things. And yeah, I think value them. It doesn't hurt. That said, I've got to caveat this massively over what I've just said, and I'm probably sound like I'm backpedaling. There are some family foundations out there, and people may have engaged with them where they are a family foundation, but they are very much kind of, it goes through the administrator and they do not want any influence from a fundraiser at all. If that is the case, because you will have started engaging with them, respect that. Don't try and cross over and still try and court the family trustees, because that is what they've decided. They want to do their philanthropy in that way. So I think it's really important that you kind of find out what type of foundation they are, how they like to operate, kind of what, all of it, all the kind of bits you do before you put an application in, and then kind of build that into your engagement plan before you submit something. Has anyone else got anything to add on that, or got experience with that kind of come up?
I wasn't, basically I was just going to say the same as all that you've said, Hannah. We actually have, we manage our philanthropy by each fundraiser, and my team has a mixed portfolio of major donors and trusts, because we know that that relationship model works. But I was going to add the same caveat of be led by them, in terms of if they give you the sign that they want that almost more transactional relationship, then it's just best to follow through with that. But there are some family foundations that I've worked with who I would say the relationship is the exact same as if they were just giving individually from like their own bank account. But as Hannah started with, that the family is taking their philanthropy quite seriously. I have also seen that in the big trend that everyone seems to be talking about, with like this generational wealth handover, family foundations really play a role in that, because they're a lot easier to engage the next generation with, because the family see it as more of a collective effort rather than someone's parent does something very generous and it's this cool thing that the parent does. So yeah, just emphasizing what you've said, Hannah. I've definitely seen that in my experience.
Yeah, that's great. It's great to know. I was just wondering, have we lost? No, Gail's there. Sorry, you've just moved on the screen, Gail. That's why. Your second question, events. So, do you invite major donors to events? Okay, big question. Do you do it all the time? Do you offer them free places? That was one of the things. Do you gift them? Do you ask them to pay a ticket? So, in the current climate, and I feel quite strongly about this regardless of the fundraising climate, is I think any event that you want to invite a major donor audience to, you need to be really clear of its aims and its outcomes of what you would like to see. So that's because I think you need to think about the return on investment, SAU. Further up the organisation, I can bet they are thinking about the return of investment of an event. And so you won't be able to demonstrate that that kind of putting on this event and inviting major donors to it is the right thing for the major donor fundraising income stream. I would also say be really smart and think about the events you invite your major donors to. Remember, on the majority of time, because obviously there is always exceptions to the rule, their major donors are usually quite time poor and they're quite busy. They may have long lead-ins to their diaries and working months and months in advance. And so anything that comes up shorthand, they may be quite quick to decline. And also, is the event the right place for them? Are they going to get the level of engagement that they would like with the organisation by attending? So, for example, if you're doing a really big thank you event, and I'm not saying you can't invite major donors to it, is it one where they're going to be acknowledged by a senior member of staff, or they're going to be able to speak to you, or are they going to have a level of engagement that they may be expecting and that they might have had from other organisations, or that you would like to give them? Now, there are ways to do it. If you have a massive event and you invite 250 people, sometimes I've done pre-event drinks with kind of a smaller set of major donors, or we've kind of done an after dinner kind of reception or dinner party as well. So there's ways to manage it. But I would say think about the event, think about them as an audience. Is it the right fit for them? And going back to Emma's very important point, is the language going to be right on the night? Will it be, for example, if it's a large scale thank you event or a large scale fundraising event, is it going to be at the right level? Is there going to be a place for them to make a donation at the level that they would probably expect, or you would think they'd be comfortable giving? You know, whilst I've never heard a major donor complain, I've seen their face kind of screw up when presented with a £50 ask, when they're thinking of maybe £50,000. Free place, free tables. What are our thoughts in the group today? Anyone got any thoughts on this? Should we be offering a free place, free tables to events for major donors? Go on, Faye, what do you think?
I think it obviously really varies, and like you say, you know, audience, language, all of those things are really important. I threw an event at an organisation I was at previously, and we decided to invite 2 of our major donors and not ask them to pay for a seat. And it was a tricky decision because all of the corporates had paid for tables, and you know there was a mix of paid and unpaid in the room. But actually we decided that it was more important that they were there and we could get the right people in front of them, so asked them not to pay for a ticket. And it happened to be a fundraising ball, which we also thought was the right type of event for this donor. And they were the biggest donor on the night as well. So that paid off, but there was obviously a lot of thinking that went into that decision. And like you say as well, a bit of risk if they'd have spoken to other people and find out that they had paid and people hadn't paid. There is a lot of thought that went into it, and that does need to go into decisions like that, I think. But yeah, this one time it paid off, and they were able to talk to senior leadership and our CEO because we'd briefed the right people, and so that time it was successful for us anyway.
Yeah. And then I've seen the opposite happen. I've been involved in the opposite of kind of what Faye said, because I think that's a very valid point. It's got to depend on your organisation and the type of event, and sometimes the trade-off of, you know, Faye, you obviously got, you know, one of the biggest like fundraisers donations on the night from it. I've also been at events where we've asked our major donors to pay more than other people. For example, carol concerts. So we've had major donors pay more for a carol concert, with the added benefit that they could sit closer to the event. and the front. Again, this might not work for everyone's organisation as well. You know, again, it goes back to kind of your kind of risk, your appetite, what drives the organisation. Is it income? But yeah, we could offer our major donors a selection of them to have kind of an enhanced experience, which included a pre-drinks kind of reception, and then also seats that were closer to the front. We're very lucky because it's a venue where actually where you sat didn't make a massive difference to your experience. So tiered pricing was across the board. But yeah, that's almost the opposite scenario where we've kind of uplifted their donation and their support to enhance fundraising. So Gail, does that help at all, or has that left you feeling even more confused because there was no concrete one answer to solve it?
Yeah, I think it's definitely some really good points that have been brought up, and something to really discuss in the team to see what's the best approach. I think it just really demonstrates, doesn't it, that there's no right or wrong way to go about things, is there? And you know, all these things, it does actually take a lot of time to chat through all these different ways to go. So yeah,
don't be afraid to have those conversations. I think when you have those conversations internally and pull in people from different departments, or you know, to kind of discuss it, you kind of find out what feels right for your organization. But it also validates you if you think I need to advocate something that goes against what we've previously done, or that people feel like we have to. If you feel that, you know, charging your major donors is what we need to do, then do it. Or you think, well, do you know what, they've given us a 6-figure gift and we're asking them to pay another £1,000 for a ticket, it doesn't feel right, then push to say, you know, it doesn't feel right, and actually, given the circumstances, we've not got loads of people in this boat doing the same thing, you know, could we, you know, gift them a ticket? And it could be really beneficial to your relationship as it kind of develops with the organisation. Yeah.
thank you very much for that.
It's all right. Is there anything else anyone wants to ask at all? No? Well, do you know what? I'm going to stop there because we've done 55 minutes. I want to make sure you've all got time to refresh before your next kind of meeting, I don't know, proposal writing session, research, whatever you're doing this afternoon. But thank you so much for coming today. As you know, I work with Money Tree Fundraising, and we are a consultancy that specialises in high value fundraising across the UK. We are, you know, try to be there to help and ease the capacity of everything that's going on in the charity sector and various organisations at the moment. So if you are ever looking for interim cover, or you are overloaded or want to have reviews on your trust and foundation applications, or you are struggling to think, where do I go with this corporate partnership, feel free to give us a call. It's no obligation, discovery call with my lovely Welsh colleague Rachel, and we'd be more than happy to help, especially if you are from a smaller organisation and you are just, you know, in the thick of it and that pause period feels few and far between. We are always there. So thank you so much everyone for joining us. This recording will go out and be shared in the coming weeks. But like I said, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn if you don't already. I'll try and drop that in the chat as well. And each other as well, because I think we make it so much easier for each other when we kind of come together collectively. So thank you for today. So all the best and enjoy your afternoon. Bye everyone.